Welcome to the League of Women Voters of California Education Fund video series explaining the 2022 statewide ballot measures. Today, we are going to talk about Proposition 28. Prop 28 would provide additional funding for arts and music education in public schools. The question it asks is, should California set aside specific funding for arts and music education in public schools? In 1998, voters passed Proposition 98, which amended the California Constitution to require a minimum percentage of the state budget to be spent on education, specifically kindergarten through two-year community college. However, there's currently no guaranteed source of annual funding in the state budget for arts and music education in K through 12 public schools. Even with no guaranteed source of funding, schools must fulfill state law requirements for arts and music education. Schools are required to provide arts and music instruction to all students in grades 1 through 6. Also, in order to graduate, high school students must complete a year in one of three courses of study, one of which is arts and music education. Prop 28 would require an additional portion of the state's general fund to be set aside to pay for arts and music education in K through 12 public schools. It would require the funding for arts and music education to be at least 1% of the funding received by schools the prior year under Prop 98. To address equity issues, schools that serve many low-income students would be allocated more funding under this measure. It would require schools to report how the funds were used to directly benefit students. And for larger schools, it would be necessary to spend 80% of the funding to employ new staff and 20% on training and supplies. When we look at costs, Prop 28 would increase state expenditures by about $1 billion per year for schools, over and above the existing constitutional requirements. Supporters of Prop 28 say that arts and music education can improve a student's personal and academic life, but only 1 in 5 schools has a dedicated teacher for arts and music programs. And ultimately, Prop 28 does not raise taxes. While no arguments in opposition to Proposition 28 were filed with the Secretary of State's, opponents of Prop 28 say that the measure will limit the state funding available for other spending. We hope this summary of Proposition 28 has been helpful. To learn more about what's on your ballot, visit votersedge.org for unbiased candidate information, information on the measures, and to learn about voting in your community.